Hey, what's going on, West Michigan? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to go over some common pitfalls that you should avoid when buying a house. So before we jump into those, my name is Kevin Irwin. I'm a local real estate agent here in the West Michigan area. If this is your very first time to my channel, I go over anything and everything that has to do with buying, selling, or investing in real estate here in West Michigan. So make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification so you get notified every time I put a video out. And you know what? I like making these videos, but I love helping you buy, sell, or invest in West Michigan way more. So do not hesitate to reach out to me. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, you can even send the pigeon carrier if you have to. Whatever you have to do, I have your back when it comes to making a move here in West Michigan. Okay, without further ado, what are some pitfalls to avoid when buying a house here in West Michigan? Okay, so number one, and it is over budgeting. Buying a house that is too expensive for what you can actually afford. This is a really big one, and there's a reason why I put it number one, because this is one that a lot of people end up overspending, thinking, you know what, it's okay. The bank approved me for this much. I know I'm going to be able to afford this, you know, because of future money, or maybe you're planning on getting a raise, or you're planning on getting a different job or something along those lines. Don't ever future proof your payments. Like if the payment's tight right now and you expect that you're going to be getting something later on down the road, don't ever do that. Like when you're budgeting for a house and when you're planning on as far as the price point of the house, make sure that you can afford it today. Like go over your budget, throw that payment in there, and make sure that you can actually afford that house today, because guess what? That raise might never come. What happens if the market shifts and they have to lay people off? Or what happens if the market shifts and you decided to put $30,000 over list price on that house and you can no longer afford that house? Like you need to look at those future possibilities and make sure that you're not basing your decisions solely off of future possibilities. So make sure that you're budgeting for today, and you can get really excited. I'm telling you, like you can get crazy excited to buy a house and end up making this mistake and end up house poor. And house poor is not fun, especially like if you're house poor going into it and something does happen where a job change, or maybe you get a pay cut because the company can no longer afford to pay you. It's a very bad situation and it's very stressful and a lot of anxiety. So make sure that you're talking through with your real estate agent or myself or your lender and making sure that you're not overspending on that house. So next, avoid skipping the inspection period on the house. Now, this one was really tough in 2020 and 2021 and the first half of 2022, because we were in such high multiple offer situations that it was very difficult to actually even get inspections on a house. Now, my recommendation, if you're going to waive inspections, which I don't really recommend doing, that you would still at least get an inspection done on the house so that you know the pitfalls of that house. You know the honey-do list per se on stuff that you need to do in order to maintain that house and make sure that you're not getting into anything that's way over your head. I have seen this happen. I've seen people skip inspections completely, not even have them done, and they ended up regretting it. And I have gotten calls from people that did that, even though I warned them not to, of, Kevin, this broke, and this broke. Well, I told you guys to get an inspection for this reason. Even though you couldn't really negotiate because we waived inspections, you still should have gotten an inspection. So try at all costs to avoid doing that. There's a lot of other stuff we can do. I mean, typical inspection period is 10 days. We can shrink that down to 5 days. We can shrink that down to 3 days to help negotiate with the sellers to not have to skip the inspection period. And then obviously we're going to go through the inspections and we're going to look at all the red ticket items and see if there's anything that we want the sellers to fix. So third, really try to understand your mortgage. Try to understand what your payment is consisted of. Is there PMI in there? You know, how much are the taxes? Like try and really understand all of the mortgage terms so that you're comfortable with that payment and know that, you know, the possibility of it going up. Because here's an instance. Let's say we buy a really old house that people have been in there forever. Like they've been in there for 40 years. Well, that SEV value of that house has not really rebounded. It's not really changed a ton because they've been living there forever. Now, when that house changes hands, chances are the taxes, when they get reassessed, are going to be much higher. So look into that. Ask your loan officer and real estate agent, hey, what do you think the taxes are going to be when this house gets reassessed? So I make sure that I can afford that payment on that house, even when the taxes get reassessed. So don't be afraid to ask your loan officer what the details are, and make sure you clearly understand what your payment's going to be, and make sure that you can actually afford that when you budget in everything else that you need to pay for. Because remember, you're going to have electric, you're going to have gas, you're going to have trash, you're going to have all of those bills, plus you're going to have maintenance on the house. Homeownership is not cheap. So make sure that you clearly understand what your mortgage terms are so that you don't get yourself in over your head. Okay, and finally, number 4 is long-term ownership of a house. A lot of people come into this not realizing what that means. Long-term ownership. You've got a roof that typically is 25 to 35 years. Where is it in its life expectancy when you buy the house? You've got a furnace that's typically 20 to 25 years. Where's that in its life expectancy? You've got your air conditioner. You've got all your appliances. Like, you need to think about all this stuff. How old is your well and septic system if you're on well and septic system? Well, how old is the city hookup to the house for sewer and water? Like, all of these things we need to pay attention to so that you understand, okay, I have 5 years left on my roof. Well, it's going to cost $15,000 to have that particular roof done in 5 years. I need to make sure that I'm budgeting for that down the road. So that's what I mean. Like, pay attention to all that stuff. Like, if you really set yourself up for home ownership, I would recommend you putting a budget down and getting all of those items that could go wrong, and figure out for that particular house, how much are those items going to cost? Now, obviously, don't let that scare you, but I'd rather you be prepared to buy the house and know, like, hey, my furnace is got 5 years left before it could possibly go out. Now, chances are it'll probably last 8 or 9 years, but there is always that possibility. So how much are you budgeting for those things? And make sure you have a separate savings account just for your house, because if you have a water heater fail mid shower and you don't have any money, that's a bad day. Now you have to go to the YMCA or wherever to take a shower because you can't afford to put a water heater in your house. So make sure you've got some reserves built up for those long-term things that you're going to need on a house. And obviously on a house, you're going to need to maintain it. Make sure that the north side of the house in Michigan is very notorious for getting all moldy and moss buildup on it because it's not in the sun a lot. Basically it gets dew, and then the sun moves so quickly to the east side of the house that it doesn't have time for that dew to actually burn off from the sunshine and dry it. So then it ends up creating a little bit of mildew on the front of the house. That's why when you're driving through Michigan and you see the north side of the house, a lot of times there's mildew on it. There's green mildew. That's because it doesn't have time to dry before that sun goes away. So make sure that you've got money to have that stuff pressure washed, or pressure wash it yourself. If your house doesn't have gutters on it, I'd highly recommend putting gutters on it, because water is one of the biggest destroyers of foundations. You need that water going away from the house and not going into your foundation. So there's some simple pitfalls to pay attention to when buying a house. There's a ton more that we could go over, but for sake of not making this video super long, I'm not going to go into those. So if you want to learn more information about buying, selling, or investing here in West Michigan, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Really appreciate it if you guys hit the like button, because that does help the channel out. And if you are looking to make a move here in West Michigan, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, you can even send a pigeon carrier. Whatever you have to do, I have your back when it comes to making a move here in West Michigan. Okay, on to the next video. We'll see you soon. Bye.